Hello everyone, my name is Shuning Tang. Today I want to present my paper, Strategies of Product Placement in TV Dramas. Today, the decline of conventional mass media originated from the focused communication. Thus, the advertising type has become truly product placement. There are prevalent examples of product placement, such as the LG cell phones, Coca-Cola, and HP notebooks are all products played into the Lady Gaga's 2009 music video. Why people like to use product placement? Because it has several advantages. The first one is it can increase the connection between the drama stars and the product. For example, when Lady Gaga drinks Coca-Cola, the audience will think the Coca-Cola has the characteristics of Lady Gaga. It can avoid viewer detection of advertising. Thus, the audience will not start their defensive mechanism toward the product. Finally, the audience can naturally contact with the messages of the brand. And in the past, several researchers validated that placing product placements into media content is beneficial to enhancing the positive attitude toward a product and thus increasing the purchase intention. But how many times the product placement can achieve the maximum advertising effect? The answer is 3. Why? According to the 3-hit theory, it indicated that the first hit will draw the attention and curiosity of the audience, and the second hit can create the interest of audience. Finally, the third hit will form their purchase intention. Also, research in the past overlooked to emphasize that product placement actually is a process requiring the negotiation and cooperation through several parties. Thus, the current research has 2 intentions. First, we want to investigate how the numbers of exposures on product placement and the connection between products and media content influence the product effect. Second, to analyze the placement strategies and implementation process of related parties. Followed by the literature review, the first part is about mere exposure effect. This theory refers to the trend of gradually developing positive attitudes to a stimulus that was originally assessed neutrally following repeated exposure. However, several researchers find that also have to consider other factors, such as presentation types. For example, the present numbers should be taken into consideration. And the mere exposure influences the brand attitude, recall, and purchase intentions. And researchers also find that visually placed when combined with oral placement more times into movie is better than only with one or no oral placement on advertising effect. And upon multiple exposure of a single brand resulted in a higher level of brand recall than single exposure of 4 brands. According to this literature, we say that the hypothesis 1 and 2, products with a high number of exposure have superior spontaneous recall and higher recognition than those with few exposures. And Homer find that vivid product placements easily decrease involvement level fewer have with the program. Thus, repeat and continuous exposure was actually detrimental to the formation of positive brand attitude. Thus, we consider under the equivalent level of involvement, products with a high number of exposures generate more positive brand attitudes than those with few exposures. Researchers also find that as the number of advertising exposure is increased, consumer purchase intention of detergent products also increased. Thus, we hypothesize that products with a high number of exposure induce higher purchase intentions in consumer than those with few exposures. And the intimacy of the connection between brand placement and plot influences whether the brand placement can form the charm of the drama to achieve persuasive effects. Researchers find that when the product placed into content through the story integrated strategies, the highly integrated strategies, its advertising effect is greater. That is because it draws on deeper level of viewer information processing. And when placement were loosely integrated with movies, plots, or stories, that would increase negative feeling toward a place brand and even increase the positive feeling toward a competitive brands. And the loosely integrated with plots also harm the consumer purchase intentions. According to this literature review, we hypothesis 5 to 8 that placements that are highly connected to plots result in superior level of brand recall and superior levels of brand recognition and superior brand attitudes and superior purchase intentions than the product that is only loosely connected to plots. In the past, research also validated that the interaction between the number of exposures and plot connection influences the advertising effectiveness of brand placements. By using Internet TV providing viewer opportunities to be exposed to single advertisement several times, and different amounts of exposure differ influences on brand attitude and purchase intentions. We hypothesis 9 and 10 that brand placement with a high number of exposure that are highly connected to plots result in more positive brand attitude than those with few exposure that are loosely connected to plots. And brand placement with a high number of exposure that are highly connected to plots result in more positive purchase intentions than those with few exposures that are loosely connected to plots. Finally, because the cognitive and emotional responses to the website advertising increase positive attitude toward websites and then improve the attitude toward brands, furthermore, to increase of consumption intention. Thus, we hypothesize that a positive relationship exists between brand attitude and purchase intention. In order to achieve these two intentions, our research used two methodologies. The first one is in-depth interview. We interview subjects from various fields with rich professional experience. Our subjects comprise of 3 producers, 4 heads of television stations, 2 screenwriters, and 1 investor. And another method we use is the between subject experimental design, and we have 2 independent variables. The first one is the exposure numbers, and the second one is the product connection. And the product we place into our stimulus is the drinks. The first independent variable is high exposure, and according to the 3 hit theories, we define that products placed into the stimulus with 3 times above are high exposure, and otherwise is the low exposure. And we define high plot connection with products that are used by the lead actors, and the low product is only be placed into the background. And we check the integral reliability of the plot connection, and the Krippendorff value is 0.92 is acceptable. And our subject is among the age from 18 to 34. And our stimulus is an actually broadcasted drama in Taiwan. It is the highest rating of 2006 in Taiwan drama. The result of manipulation check find that our manipulation is successful. We can look at this table, and we find that the number of exposure really has high exposure, and the subject can also find that high plot connection is really highly connected to the drama. And these 2 types of manipulation are all significantly different. And our research has 3 dependent variables. The first one is brand recall and recognition. Recall is first tested by ask subjects to recall the brand by open questionnaire, and recognition just asks subjects to recognize the placed brand in a list. And we coded the correct response 1 and to code incorrect response 2. And we use the questionnaire from the past research to measure our brand attitude and the purchase intention. And the reliability of these 2 dependent variables are 0.85 and 0.83 are all acceptable. And we recruit 95 subjects participated in many experiments. We have two kind of results. The first one is about the negotiation process among the related parties, and we find that it can be divided into 3 stages. The first stage is also called front period. The focus is to developing stories and to make the story plotting. And we can find that the screenwriters and producers will organize required products or props based on the plot or characteristic of a drama. And the producer and the television station marketing departments will hold meetings to discuss placement strategies and to draw up plans. And the investors will over plans and give script synopsis to vendors for reference, and will consult with vendors about cooperation-based demands made on both sides. The second stage is also called a planning period, and the focus is the script writing. The producer and station integrated marketing departments will sign detailed contracts for cooperation with investors, and the producer and the screenwriters will hold meetings to discuss how product placement will be worked into plots, numbers of exposures for products, and presentation atmosphere for placements. And the investors will overplot outlining relevant to a product to vendors. Both sides confirm filming details. The final stage is also called the implementation period. The focus is to release and broadcast. The screenwriters will write placement plots and filming methods into scenes, and the directors will, prior to filming, executive producers communicate vendors' demands to directors, and the station drama editors will review whether scenes include violation of the law. And the second type of a result is about our experimental design. We find that both of the number of exposures and the plot connections are factors which significantly influence the brand recall and brand recognition. Specifically, we find that audience receive high exposure really have high brand recall and brand recognition. The audience who only receive the drama of low exposures. And we also find that audience who feel the high connection plots will have high brand recall and brand recognition than those who only receive low connection stimulus. Thus, the hypothesis 1, 2, 5, and 6 are all supported. We also find that our 2 independent variables are factors that will influence the brand attitude. Specifically, subjects who receive stimulus with high number of exposure have higher brand attitude than those who stimulus with low number of exposures. And subjects who receive stimulus with high plot connection form higher brand attitude than those who stimulus with low plot connection. Thus, hypotheses 3 and 7 are supported. We also find that the interaction between number of exposures and plot connection really significantly influence the brand attitude. That is, people feel stimulus with different level of exposure times and plot connection will form different level of brand attitude, and this difference is statistically different. Thus, our hypothesis 9 is supported. We also find that our 2 independent variables are factors that will influence the purchase intention. Specifically, subjects who receive stimulus with high number of exposure have higher purchase intention than those who stimulus with low number of exposures. And subjects who receive stimulus with high plot connection form higher purchase intention than those who stimulus with low plot connection. And we find that the interaction between number of exposure and plot connection doesn't influence the purchase intention. That is, people feel stimulus with different level of exposure times and plot connection don't have different level of purchase intention. According to these results, our hypothesis 4 and 8 are supported, but the hypothesis 10 is not supported. According to these results, we find that there are some rules of number of exposure and brand placement effectiveness. We find that When the number of exposure increases, the purchase intention, the brand recall and recognition, and brand attitudes are also increasing. Cause viewing idol dramas is itself a type of enjoyment and is not a goal-oriented search for information. The result of this study further confirmed with the past research that finds when the acceptance of content is not characterized by goal-oriented information seeking, increasing the number of advertising exposures of identical content is beneficial to brand recognition. And obvious placement frequently led to punishment. Thus, visual placement strategies are more indirect and the most commonly adopted forms of product placement, according to our interviewer 1, 7, and 9. To the result, we also find some rules among the plot connection and brand placement effectiveness. Specifically, we find that when the plot connection increasing, the purchase intention, brand recall, and brand attitudes are also increasing. The story connection leads the deep information, therefore adding and improving brand recall. When the product plays are more consistent with dramas and plots can lead to higher purchase intention. In practice, the product placement are manipulated to be used by lead actors since product placed into drama are not only simple props, but also a vehicle to shape the personality and traits of the leading actor. In other words, the spirit of brand can be communicated to audience through product placement. For product and the level of its connection to the plot have a significant influence on audience attitude toward brands. However, these placement strategies must be planned perfectly. When the number of exposures for product reach a certain level, consumer will detect illicit advertisement. Thus, their defensive mechanism will start. Through the connection with the plot can resolve the problem. Thus, high plot connection strategies areas are established during the early phases of writing plot stages, and we also have to consider the suitable placement in the planning and scheduling period. However, there is no single operating process currently adopted in Taiwan. In general, vendors spontaneously sponsor the drama, and the screenwriter then include the product into plots. We also have to pay attention to that the quantity and quality of placements are equivalent. They are very important. Our research also has some limitations. The first one is our research only used one stimulus. In the future, the research should use multiple stimulus. Another limitation is that we use the actually broadcasted drama of high rating in Taiwan that cannot avoid the prior viewing experience influence. So in the future, the researchers should use the original videos.